What's up, Black Sheep, and welcome to a new Sunday tarot reading. My name is Roshni. I'm a self-worth coach, tarot reader, and the founder of Black Sheep Experience, where we talk about creating the new version of you after surviving your fucked up childhood. So today's reading is actually going to be celebrating Pride. This is for all my queer Black Sheep, and the way that I set the intention for this reading wasn't so much like, tell me about your queerness, and like, of course, if that comes up, we'll talk about it, but it's not so much about the experience of being queer as much as it is to connect with my queer community here and see like what is coming through for you specifically. If you are not queer, you can still watch and see if there's things in here that might resonate for you. But this one's really dedicated to all of the queer Black sheep out there, and I pulled a couple of cards from this really beautiful deck that I'm going to talk about in a second. But first, I got this Frog from Frog and Toad has a self-care like affirmation deck that I found today at the bookstore, or the other day at the bookstore, and I was like, oh my god, I have to use this in a reading. So that's what we're gonna kick this reading off with. I just saw 137 on the timer, so I wonder if that is a synchronicity for you as well. Okay, here we go. This one says, I am on my own timeline. I will not compare my journey to anyone else's. And how cute. Okay, but I almost feel like there's another card that wants to come out too, so I'm going to shuffle again and see. I think it's this one. I don't need to return to older versions of myself to satisfy people who aren't ready to see how I've changed. What? Okay, I'm going to show you the picture on this card, and then I'm going to read it again, because what? Okay, so what it says is, I don't need to return to older versions of myself to satisfy people who aren't ready to see how I have changed. Wow, so that's really interesting. So this first card is kind of about... Okay, sorry, I had to cut and get these set up again because the stand was like not cooperating. So sorry about that. But one of these cards is about not comparing yourself to other people. And then the other card is about not bringing your changed self back to people who refuse to see how you've changed. And I feel like those are really interesting cards because maybe for a lot of this community, like comparison has been coming up, or just the feeling of like, where am I accepted, right? Like, who is going to accept me? Or why does it seem like I constantly run into obstacles with this group of people? So what I'm seeing, especially with these cards about comparison and feeling like you can't be yourself, or you can't be like this new version of you around people that refuse to see how you've changed. I'm really seeing like someone transitioning, or just like this more full embodiment of queerness, maybe even for some of you like leaning into androgyny, like whatever those things are that take you away from being like their good little boy or their good little girl into like who you actually are. It feels like there's always kind of like an open question mark, right? Especially for those of you who come from families who will not talk about these things. Maybe in your mind you've kind of written it off a long time ago, but sometimes on the physical level in our bodies or in our subconscious, we're still almost waiting for like an answer. Or it's not that we're necessarily like actively waiting, but there's no like conclusion, right? There's no real closure in a lot of these relationships. And so sometimes you hold this like idea of like, maybe someday we will talk about it, or maybe someday like things will kind of be different, but you also haven't stopped that from like allowing you to live your life, right? So you're living your life and you're doing your thing and you're becoming and evolving into this like really authentic expression of yourself, and molding with that as you change and grow, and finding community and finding chosen family and creating a life that reflects who you actually are, like this slow process of unmasking and also rebuilding. But in that, there are still these like unanswered questions with the people that you grew up with or your actual family, like, are we ever going to talk about this, or are you ever going to accept me? And for some people, like their families might not necessarily like kick them out, but also not necessarily be accepting, right? This kind of like idea of like being tolerant or whatever. And so for some of you, maybe you haven't like really thought about that for a while, and it's not to take you back to bring you to any sort of pain, but maybe just recognizing like, oh, are there open question marks that I have? Is there something that in my mind I haven't allowed to be closed? And I'm not going to tell you necessarily how to like approach that exact answer, because maybe for a lot of you, like there is a reason why it's still open, and ultimately your intuition and your conscience, like, I guess, have to agree on how to handle it or what you want to do. But for a specific collective here, like, I think this is just permission from spirit to say you can let go if you want to let go. And not necessarily even in terms of like changing how you communicate with them if that's working for you, but more of like the internal closure of like, I may never get these things from them, and making peace with that on your own, right? So that felt like really strongly like it wanted to come through. But I also wanted this reading to be like really kind of compact. And so I pulled a few cards already. And this is the deck I mentioned earlier. So this is called the Next World Tarot. It's by Christy C. Rode. And it is very like, it just highlights the queer experience. It highlights social justice, and just like, I just love this deck. And so the cards I got for you already are the Moon. I got the Devil, and look at this one. Like, feel free to pause. And hopefully it's like focusing. Hang on. Yeah, feel free to pause because there's so much going on in the background of this card, and it is more real than ever. Let's just say that. And then the Knight of Swords. Okay, so hopefully you were able to get a good look at all of those. I'll hold up the Moon again just because I feel like I don't know if. Okay, so hopefully you got a good visual, but the Devil was the first card that I pulled. It's correspondent to the number 15, so maybe that resonates for you. But what I'm really seeing here, first of all, the Saturn on the bottom of the card, and how it says Saturn is just like, yeah, we're talking about karma, we're talking about timelines, we're talking about collapse, right? And for the Devil, like, this is really, especially in this deck, talking about how we often have to basically side with the oppressor, right? It brings up the conversation of like, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, like that kind of vibe of like, we all have aspects of these things that we're either benefiting from or finding convenience in, or that we've built our lives upon. And it's not so much to like blame you or place individual blame, but also like bringing up the idea of like, how can we offset this, and where can you forgive yourself for what you've done or what you've had to do, but also choose to move towards something that is more reflective of what you want to see in the world. So again, this doesn't have to be like a massive overhaul of your life. This isn't to say like ignore the limitations, I would say, in your reality, but something about the Devil and the Moon together as well in this deck talk about dreaming, especially the Moon card talks about dreaming and believing. And something that came up with the Moon as well, actually in the booklet of this deck, talked about intuition. And I always read the booklet when I can for some of these cards. They're all kind of long, so I don't know if I will read them all in this reading, but the way that she brings up certain points, it's not so much like, this is kind of her own deck, right? While it corresponds to regular tarot, there's so many more details here that are also even tied to her artwork and tied to the individual kind of decolonized meaning she's attributing to a lot of these cards. So I like to read the guidebook just to see like, what am I missing, or is there something that's more unique about this? And something that came up in the Moon is not just this intuitive energy, but also the idea of miracles being able to happen, right? And so with the Devil and what we're seeing on a daily basis, what a lot of our communities are experiencing, what like we all know the heaviness of it, and yet we can't disconnect, right? Like, we're here and it's happening, and we have to do more and we have to step up, but it can harden your heart, right? Like, it's hard to be open and have open energy and have like an open heart and all of these things when we're seeing such cruelty on mega display. And so with the Moon card, this is reconnecting us back to dreaming bigger, believing in miracles, believing in something that we cannot see, because we're so hardened, right? And that's part of the effects of everything that's happening right now. It's like to harden us, to desensitize us, to confuse us, to overwhelm us, right? To overstimulate us. And so taking time, first of all, with the Moon card and with the Knight of Swords, actually, how kind of plain these backgrounds are. Like, while there's stuff going on, it's not chaotic, or it's like their own version of kind of controlled chaos. Whereas when we look at the devil, there's so much going on in the background and so much in this card. It almost reminds us like sometimes to be simple and to be laser focused is kind of a little bit better, or will serve us more, right? So as much as, and it's not to say don't be informed or don't know what's going on or don't support other causes, because at the end of the day everything's connected and we know that, but how can you also make sure you're making the most of your energy, right? Because if all of your time is spent doom scrolling or spent, in fear and in worry, then there isn't as great of an impact. So how can we scale back the trauma and the energetic resources that we're taking from our bodies, and how can we shift that so that we are more focused with our actions and more like set on kind of a more measurable goal. And this can happen in different ways, right? Like there's so many things that this could relate to in your community based on your exact needs, based on your community's biggest threats. And so that might look different for everyone, but having something that is actionable and tangible that you are able to make bits of progress on every day is going to be much more helpful than the constant state of overwhelm. So I wanted to point that out, because the devil itself has this chaos. It has this confusion. It has this like deep overwhelm. If we take our knowledge with something actionable and we connect it to dreaming big, how can we really reimagine, right? Because so like, yes, we need to destroy so much, and yes, we need to take away so much, but also what are we creating? And there's people that are good at the destroying, and there's people that are good at the creating. There's people that are good at the changing, the understanding patterns. Like we all have different skills and it all needs to be channeled somewhere. And if everyone uses their unique skill set or is part of a larger movement and is allowing their individual experience to add something to that as well, then we actually can make more progress, right? So if you haven't already heard of the social change map, I think I mentioned that in a no, I don't think I mentioned it, because I think I brought it up in the reading that got deleted. So I don't know if it ended up coming up in the next version, but the social change map talks about all the different ways that we are able to create change, all the different ways that we are able to world build, right? So for a lot of you who are dreamers or visionaries or people with big imaginations, that can be useful to imagine a new world. And that's really what the moon is talking about. You were able to, in terms of creating yourself or creating a new life for yourself or rebuilding or whatever it was in your black sheep and queer experience, those things came up out of your imagination, right? Choosing to leave your hometown to build a life somewhere new, or choosing to leave one version of you behind, as we all do, and creating this like authentic expression of who you are. There's different ways that you already have been that visionary. There's different ways that you already have had those thoughts of what to create when it's already not in front of you, how to actually dream up something. And so a lot of this collective are the dreamers. You are the ones that can see something that isn't there, or that can see something that is so much better than what already exists. And so if you start somewhere, start with the dream. And earlier when I was talking about building something tangible, I think this is where it connects. It's like start with the dreaming and then see what are small tangible ways that you can make it possible, right? Like thinking about people who are able to live communally, or people who are able to scale or become self-sufficient and then use that to like scale back up and bring other people into that community. Something around like, how can we imagine things that don't exist at all but would be so much better, right? Kind of like the idea of like solar punk, or this idea of like even technology working with us to allow us to tend to the land in a better way, in a way that actually honors permaculture and actually honors our ecosystems and doesn't contribute to monoculture, like mass agricultural farm situations. Like that's just one example, but what are ways that we can dream up using our resources, using our community, using our skill set to actually lean into the thing that is going to have the greatest impact, and not allow us to, not saying like we have to go back now exactly 400 years ago to do everything the way that it was being done then, but instead to say how can we use all of the resources that we have now in a way that will work with the land, or will work with our nervous systems, that will work with what humans were made to do in a more natural way, right? And so whatever arenas like you feel the most connected to, whatever places or causes you feel the most connected to, ask yourself to dream. Like, again, you are the visionary. You have this skill set to be able to create something that isn't already there. And all black sheep are alchemists, but queer people are also all alchemists. So you as a queer black sheep, like, you are the ultimate alchemist. You are the ultimate like builder and creator. And again, the word visionary keeps coming up. I wonder if some of you are clairvoyant or also like have some sort of connection to your intuitive abilities, but if you don't, lean into them. But I'm also seeing a lot of colors, so maybe color theory or maybe just like art is really big for some of you. I'm seeing like a someone draping fabric around a mannequin. So maybe some of you are like fashion designers too, or just love to like play around with clothes. Something about that is coming up, but you are used to the process of creation, right? So lean into that. And for a lot of you, I feel like there has been a lot of guilt around like, I can't show up in the way that everyone else is showing up. I can't show up in this exact same way. And so now I feel useless. Now I can't forgive myself. Now I'm at war with myself because I feel like I'm not doing my part. And so this is part of your part. You have to understand like what's different about you and what you can contribute that other people can't. Because for a lot of us, we tend to look at things that come easily to us as just easy things, but they're not. A lot of the things that come so easily to you are still so difficult for other people to be able to do. So that's why it's your talent. That's why it's your gift. That's why it's the origin of your contribution. And it's not to say you're not going to learn and grow and develop new skills and all these other things, because you are, and you already have seen yourself do that, so you know that. But starting with your strengths is not wrong. And your strengths are strengths that could be other people's weaknesses, or could be something that other people don't have any connection to at all. So by you not leaning into those strengths, at least as a starting off point, you are essentially ridding the world of yourself, right? So how can we really like embody who we are? And you've already been on the process of doing that, or unshedding or unmasking and creating. And so with that, like allowing yourself to do that on a larger level, looking at your community as a whole and seeing like, where are the gaps? Where can I problem solve? Like, you know how like there's that one sound on TikTok, and forgive me, I haven't been on TikTok all year, so I don't know if it's like super old now, but it was, it's basically like the DIY sound where it's like, oh, I don't like, I've never tried this before, but like I'm gay, so how hard can it be? It's like something along those lines. It's like, I feel like queers just get done, and when something clicks for us, it clicks, and then we can like run with it, right? Like I feel like that's why I was seeing so many colors and like so much art and like very unique things. It's like you know that when you hit that stride of like what you can do well, you are sprinting and you are doing it faster and better than anyone around you, right? So like take that and apply it to your activism. Take that and apply it to your purpose of what you are creating. And if your art is where your activism begins, then like really allow yourself to imagine even more with that. And something else that I'm seeing, especially for a lot of you creative, queer, black sheep, like I love this community because I am one of you. And like, yes, like I didn't expect it to like lean more and more into like this direction, but yeah, so many of you are creatives, right? So oh my God, you guys, I recorded the last 10 minutes of this reading and lost it all. Like, oh, this keeps happening to me. I'm gonna have to figure out what is going on. But I ended up pulling 2 more cards from this regular tarot deck. I feel so, oh my God, the Magician on the bottom. I feel so bad that you keep missing me shuffle. Like, this is so annoying, but I'm sorry. What I was saying though is that you have this ability to dream, and so you have a unique gift as well. You have something different that you're bringing to the table in terms of what you can see. And what you can see, what you can imagine, again, when you connect to this intuition of the Moon card, when you allow yourself to believe in things that feel like miracles or feel impossible, you have the ability to do that in your arena of work or in your focus of who you are, um and like the industries or like the things that you're obsessed with, you have the ability to see the change in those areas in a way that other people can't. And if you take whatever you are the most knowledgeable about and you focus on dreaming bigger or creating a world that you would like to see within that lens, within that arena, that is actually what will allow you to expand. That is what will allow you to be the visionary that you are and create a bigger sense of change rather than confusion and misdirection and like a little bit over here and a little bit over here, right? So it's not to say, obviously, like you can show up for as many things as you want to show up, but for a lot of you who have been feeling that guilt, feeling that confusion, feeling that like, where do I belong? Why does this not quite sit right with me? Well, you have a specific area that you excel in, right? I already know that. But you have to have that passion behind it. You have to have that joy or that connection to something bigger or that dream behind it. And for a lot of us, we've gotten disconnected from that dream overall. We've gotten disconnected from like the ability to dream again because of like this constant overstimulation. And it's not like it's like taken away from you forever, but we've been peppered down with so much stuff that's been going on for years that we like have a disconnect between being able to dream. And it's not like that this is all staying in the dream world, but we have to imagine something new to be able to then build it, right? It's like being an architect. Like you have to have a blueprint first. You have to have the idea. You have to have a semblance of the creation so that you can actually build more and create something in a more efficient and more like connected way. You can think through some of the problems before it happens through the imagination, through the dreaming part of it. So when I first pulled a card from this deck, I got the Star card. I also got the Strength card. And then just now you saw me find the Magician at the bottom of the deck, and I felt like that was important. But these are all three major arcana cards, and that is really, really beautiful. There's so much power here, and like you are just ready to go, right? And that really connects with this Knight of Swords energy that is fueled by rage, that is ready to take action, that is ready to move forward. But when you look back, I ask you to look back and see like over the last few months, whenever, or, you know, even the last few years, whenever you felt hesitant about like activism in a certain way, or whenever you felt guilty or felt like you couldn't quite show up in the way that you wanted to, ask yourself why and what was happening there. Because for some of you, you may have just been leaning into how you should do things rather than your inherent strengths. And again, something about this like creative queer community is that we are able to create what we cannot see. And even with the Magician, right? The Magician is an alchemist. Like Black sheep are alchemists, creatives are alchemists, and queer people and the queer community are alchemists. So like you have like a triple threat of the ability to create or transform anything. And so how can you lean into that? How can you be creative? I'm hearing like even trickster energy. Maybe with some of you, like you have like a cheekiness in how you go about things, or sometimes like really incredible works of activism or community building or community progress have happened not from like doing one specific thing, but actually getting creative and seeing like, well, how would these, like what would be like the one thing that would throw a wrench in this, right? And getting like into it in a deeper way. There's something about, I'm hearing like MacGyver, and I'm seeing like a key going into like one of those like really difficult, complicated puzzles, and like someone trying to figure it out, like one of those wooden puzzles. I don't know, but I feel like getting creative and getting really specific and like laser focused on the thing that you're most connected to. There's something there about like the way that you can use your brain differently than other people around you. And so you may also be neurodivergent, you may not, but something about even just like creative problem solving or whatever it is, like you bring a unique perspective and you bring a unique ability to problem solve, right? Or to see like all the ways that something is affected and then find the most effective way to throw a wrench into that plan. And so while there may be a lot of people that are showing up in their strengths, it does you no benefit and it does your community no benefit to rob them of your strengths, right? Like you not showing up in the way that you are meant to, in the way that is fully aligned with your gifts and your body and your power, is robbing your community of the essence of you. And you also then, if you are like forcing yourself to be active in a certain way that isn't real for you, you are then also taking space from people who do thrive in that area. So only you know like the exact area in which you thrive, or the exact like type of work that makes the most sense for you, or the arena or industry or cause that's the most important to you. Only you can decide that. But there is something about leaning into that specifically, because that is where you can make the greatest impact in your mind, your ability to make connections, to dream, and to be creative with the way that you speak out. That is very important. And so don't do what you should do, because that is taking away from people that are supposed to be there. Not even in the sense of like taking up space from them, but like let people shine where they shine. And if you're doing that, then you have to shine where you shine too. Instead of dulling yourself down or watering yourself down to fit in somewhere else or to do something that you think you should, step up in your full like reality, right? And with the strength card, I'm also hearing courage, but like you have the ability to wield the sword. Again, with the Knight of Swords, like this card is very much like rageful and impassioned, and not rageful in a bad way. It's rageful in a productive way, but like how can you use that and wield it to the way that is most beneficial? Because like I feel like this collective, I'm hearing scattered, and even with the Knight of Swords, like it can have this tendency to do a little of this and a little of this and blah blah, and like you're so like, I'm not saying that you can't be multi-passionate, because obviously like for a lot of you that's very much where you see yourself as creatives or just as individuals, but how can you like hone in and make the biggest impact, right? That's what's important. And so keeping your eye on like the beast within you and on the part of you that's so activated and so ready to go, how can you direct them and use your mind, use your logic, use your dream, use this actionable thing that you've created, and wield them to be able to make the greatest impact within that space. Do you see what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. I'm hearing the word seed and flower, and I'm looking at kind of the sprouts at the bottom of this card, if you can kind of see them, like all these little plants. You are meant to plant seeds, and that could be very literal for some of you. Maybe you are passionate about food or gardening or, you know, community care in that way. But for a lot of you, like you are meant to create something and put your all into it and create a plan, and then have people who are passionate about that plan come in and start to enact that. And then you are meant to, like, your mind will be drawn to something else, or a different version or a different problem in that arena, or a completely different industry as a whole. So honor what's coming up and what's present for you right now, because what's coming up is where your mind is meant to be. It's like source is bringing you these like things, these like problems to your doorstep, and you are meant to like not fix them completely, but you're essentially meant to find a way through. Again, that MacGyver like word and that imagery is coming up of like, how can I fit through this tunnel that no one else can see and connect these dots in a way that other people aren't as like quick at doing? And you've been shying away from sharing that really amazing part of yourself because of like the doubt and people being so committed to misunderstanding you your whole life that it's like, okay, well, they're not going to believe me anyway. They're not going to understand what I'm saying anyway. So I'm just going to keep it to myself. But Spirit is inviting you to expand and open up with that, and to allow other people, like, it's not even about other people. It's about allowing yourself to go there, to, again, have that dream, but that ability to see something differently. And that's where it comes in with like, this problem is coming up, and then you kind of like solve it, but not fully actively, but you create a plan, a blueprint to follow, and other people who are excited about that come in and start helping with that, and then spirit brings another problem to you. And so in this way, this may be just for a few of you, but things are coming to you to be solved, and those are like the seeds that you're planting, right? So you don't need to, like, some people plant the seeds and some people grow with them, and you are the one that is traveling and planting seeds. So maybe that word traveling is significant. Maybe some of you have been thinking about like going to different places, or a big move, or something different about like a different location. So that could be significant. The last thing Spirit wanted you to know is that while you feel like, again, I talked about like things feeling easy for you, right? And you like diminishing them or not believing them enough. Sorry, there's a dog playing outside and he is so cute. But Spirit mentioned like you think that certain things are easy for everyone because they're easy for you, but they very much are not, right? You have certain gifts and you have certain talents and certain ways of looking at things that are unique to you. And there is an inherent worthiness in how you exist, in how you see the world, in your perspective. And so while other people have tried to take that away from you or diminish you or bring you down in that sense, like the way that you see things has to be done in a way that you are not changing or manipulating. Your gift to the world is to be the most you, and to do it in a way where you are addressing things that come to you, right? Like you find yourself like all of a sudden immersed in this certain community, or all of a sudden interested in these certain things, or really connected to this certain world of art, or of writing, or of connection, or of like nature or environmentalism, like whatever those things are. It could be literally anything, but you found yourself in those places for a reason. And so in that arena, what can you do that speaks the loudest? What can you do that takes your unique skill set and highlights it and uses it to do something better for someone else? And that's really coming up because you maybe have like a diminished belief sometimes of how worthy you are, or how much people want you to express yourself, how much people want to see the real version of you, because there's so many instances in which you've had to mask, you've had to cover yourself up, or make yourself small, or do certain things even for your own safety, or if you've chosen not to do those things, had experiences where people are openly judging you or rude to you, or mistreating you, or being, like I said, committed to misunderstanding you. And that still has caused like a connection of shame, or a connection of like, people aren't ready to receive this, people don't want me. And so there's something very big coming up here around knowing that the way that you uniquely show up in this world is so needed and is so necessary and is such a gift. And that is actually what you bring to the table. No one has the unique like intersectionalities and perspective that you do. And that perspective, because it's so intelligent, because it's so informed, because it's so creative, and it's so unique, and it's so different, only you can see the things that you see. And again, this may connect to a lot of you being visionaries, or literally having like visuals, or being clairvoyant, but only you can see what you can see. Only you can dream of what you can dream. And so this is another infusion of the reminder that you are so worthy just the way you are. You don't have to do more. You don't have to change how you show up, because there is medicine in the way that you show up already. And that is not only the gift that you have to the world, but that is your gift, and also like I don't want to say the word burden, but like that's also the work that you have for yourself, is to learn to accept that, to learn to value that, to learn to find worthiness in that version, right? And to believe in it even if other people aren't. But the world needs that uniqueness. And it also, the world is never going to know that it needs that, because it doesn't know what it doesn't have. And so that is your job, is to show up before anyone can ask you to. And that is really difficult. It is really hard, but if anyone can do it, you can, right? Because again, you're doing it in the place that is fueled by your rage, that is fueled by your passion, that is wielded by your mind and your intellect and your desires, and is also like created from your intuition. Like all these things are so sacred, and you are so sacred and you are so needed. So I hope that's what you like remind yourself of and connect to this whole week is like, and for longer than this week, like I'm needed. I am medicine. Who I am is beautiful. Like my unique gifts are worthy. I am worthy without having to change myself. Like those are some affirmations you can meditate on this week. And yeah, I hope that this was inspiring for you. I do have one-on-one readings available as well all the way till the end of July right now that you can book on my website. I have live readings online, and I also have voice note readings. So if you don't want something where we sit down in person, but you do have like a burning question or a specific area you want a reading on, I'll email you a voice note that you can keep and re-listen to anytime you want. So that's really beautiful. And I also have self-worth coaching sessions available as well. I can only do about 3 in the next month tops. And so if you want one, book one now, because as soon as I have those 3 filled, I am shutting down the self-worth coaching bookings on my website, at least till the end of July. So yeah, with all of that being said, I love you all very, very much. Remember that you are worthy, whether you believe it or not.